Hey guys, Drifter here. The title of today's video is It's Been a Good Year, because it really has been a good year. The gameplay that you're going to see is me using the VKS for a little bit. I had a very good sniper feed here in the beginning, especially for a guy that just absolutely does not snipe at all and just kind of hard scopes like a grandpa. And then we're going to swap over to some marksman rifle gameplay on Whiteout, where I play about as hard and as angrily as I can, which is funny because this is a very upbeat video about the good decisions that I've made this year and about how I am very grateful for the good year that I've had. But the gameplay is me playing as angrily as I can because I've been getting one-man army tubed and camped and stuff, so you'll see some of the frustration come out in the gameplay. But it has really been a good year for me. It's I mean, you've seen it on the channel. There's been ups and downs, and there's been some high points and some low points, but I'm really grateful for the year that I've had and where I'm at now. And perhaps in order to help you understand where I'm at now, I totally didn't see that ghillie suit now, it might help you to kind of get a feel for where I was 1 year ago. So 1 year ago, I was just getting my master's degree, which was a degree that I ultimately decided I did not want to pursue, which felt bad because I spent a lot of extra money on it. My wife stayed in a town she didn't like and worked hard to support me so that I could get the degree, and ended up decided playing video games and blowing off all of that. So it was kind of a sour feeling, and I just had a bad taste for it. I decided to chase my wife's dreams, and we moved to Texas, which is a place that I really didn't want to live because that's where my mom was living at the time, or what had just previously lived there, and that I grew up there, and I didn't really want to return there because of what I'd experienced in Texas as a childhood, mostly family things. I got down to about $300 to my name. Everything. Right after I moved in and all the expenses were done, I had $300, and my sources of income were more or less drying up. For those of you that are slightly younger or don't have jobs or don't pay the bills, I'll let you know that $300 does not go very far in a big city, and that you will end up with negative money very, very quickly. And talking about not having income, things at Machinima, the Machinima network, they were going south really fast. They were paying me less and less and less, and they had their big CPM bubble bursting. And when I tried to renegotiate my contract, they actually offered me a downgrade and tried to pay me less and told me that I was worthless and that I should be grateful for being with them, and that maybe, and then I was like, well, why do you keep me around? It's like, well, we keep people around you, I like you around because one of these days you might be important or something. So I was like, okay, screw that, and I left Machinima. The channel was struggling a little bit. I was having some problems getting Black Ops 2 in depth off the ground. I kind of is now for different reasons, and my wife wanted to buy a house. She had a pretty strong desire to buy a house, and I set some very unrealistic goals for myself about when this house should be bought. And as you can see, I was in kind of a stressful situation. Low money, big flux in my life where I was living and all this sort of stuff. But today, 1 year later, I have quite possibly the best job in the world for me. Might not be the best for you, but playing video games for a living is a pretty sweet job, and it floats my boat pretty good. The money situation is more or less not an issue because of the YouTube channel and, you know, the work we put into it, and you guys more or less directly, those of you that watch my videos. I now make enough money to live comfortably. I'm not rich by any means. I'm not drowning in YouTube money or retiring to a private island anytime soon. But as a guy that grew up incredibly poor for the better part of his life, I'm now living much more comfortably than I have before. I actually have savings. It's amazing. I have savings I can actually invest in a retirement fund or something like that. The new networks that I joined after Machinima have all been very good to me and have generally been more stable. We actually did good enough this year to get a house. We didn't pay for it all in cash, because very few people do that except crazy Chinese billionaires that come over here and buy all the houses, which we ran into while we were house shopping. All these Chinese people paying for houses in cash, not even like checks, but just like dollar bills. It was crazy. We did the traditional 30-year mortgage thing, but it is nice to actually own a house and have a place to live. And one thing that is more or less the same, the channel's still struggling a bit. I'm kind of in a flux here with Call of Duty Ghost because, let's be honest, it's probably the least popular COD game in a long time, and I played Black Ops 2, so as you can see from some of the spawns and my angry rushing in here, Ghost is struggling a little bit, so we're moving over to some more PC games and stuff like that soon, but it's still more than enough to let me live comfortably, and I'm happy with it. For the first time in my life, I'm able to do a few things that I never had before, or perhaps not never had. I mean, you go to other people's houses, or every now and then you'd have a good year, because I moved a lot and I bounced around families a lot, but something that I've been without for the vast majority of my life heat and air conditioning. Some of you currently live with no heater, no AC, and whatever temperature it is outside, it's only going to be about 10 or 15 degrees difference inside. It's 30 outside, well that means your house is like 42. It's 100 outside, well you'll be glad if your house is like 90, 92, something like that. Oh, we'll get the fans going, it'll circulate the hot air around and really help. I've lived in places that had wall units or window units or a main AC that was made for a house maybe like a quarter that size, and it would just kind of blow some cool air in your general direction while you sat there and baked at like 88 degrees or something like that. But for the first time in, oh god, probably since I was like a little kid, I have actual fully functional heat and air conditioning. As a matter of fact, it works so well, and me and my wife are so not used to it, we have to crank it down a little bit. Like, we don't use it probably as much as some people, which is kind of crazy. I have a dog door. This is kind of a new thing. I've had dogs for a long time. I've never had an indoor dog until I picked up Ozzy, and for like the last 4 years, it's been me taking, Ozzy wants to pee, I gotta go outside and let him pee. Ozzy wants to go outside, I gotta open the door. Ozzy needs to go on a walk. I mean, we live in basically a place that was almost like an apartment where the dog stayed in my room. So having a dog door where my dog can come and go and do as he pleases and use the bathroom without waking me up at the 5 in the morning, amazing. I got to celebrate Christmas recently my way, which we're going to get to in a little bit, but I was able to buy food that I wanted and not have to worry about it. And for some of you, you'll think that that's crazy, and for some of you, you'll not understand at all. Well, for different reasons, depending on your income level. So for a long time, I bought pretty cheap. We'd just buy what we needed and absolutely nothing else. The refrigerator would more or less be empty, minus some cooking utensils, you know, shopping at Aldi's and Great Value and buying really inexpensive foods. And for sometimes when the money got tight, we would just make do with what we had and buy very little, or like, man, I got that. I decided to spoil myself with that 1 pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I don't know if I'm going to be able to float this $3. I'm going to have to cut somewhere else. But when shopping for Christmas, I realized that I was able to fill up my refrigerator, not only fill it up with food, which is not something I've had since God, like ever, but that it was food that I wanted. Like, I could go and buy the type of cheese that I wanted, and I could get the fancy organic Pop-Tarts if I wanted, and I could get these kind of things and not have to worry about it. It wasn't like a stress if I could afford it. Like, if I'm gonna go broke buying potato chips for people and stuff, like that was really, it just kind of dawned on me when I opened my pantry, my refrigerator, and it was full of food. Since, oh god, it's crazy. Not that I didn't eat or anything, but it's just not something that I've ever done before. And speaking of Christmas and stuff, I was able to host Christmas at my house. I've never hosted a Christmas before at my house because my family is, we'll say, interesting in their own ways. My mother, God bless her, she's crazy. She's just out of this world, batshit crazy. We've had Shoney's Christmas, Waffle House Christmas. That's usually after getting kicked out of places or other people's houses. Christmas with people that I've never met before. A funny story, I got dropped off at somebody else's family reunion. It's kind of weird to be in some place where you're the only person with a different last name. And just like really weird Christmas, like rehab Christmas, Christmas on the road. Or at my dad's house, it was kind of different because they didn't really get along, or more specifically my grandfather, so they would sit there and do Christmas and have like a pissing contest at each other and get Christmas presents that kind of like degraded each other, like, oh, you're gonna need that new shirt if you ever get a job. And it was kind of my job to diffuse the tension and make sure there's no fistfights on Christmas. But this Christmas, I had a full Christmas with my in-laws at my house with the food that we wanted. And they're all nice people that don't hate each other, and they're not crazy, or not crazy in the bad way. They're probably regular crazy in a more jolly kind of way, but they're not violently crazy. And I was able to invite members of my family to celebrate Christmas too, and everybody got along, and there were no fights. There was no cursing, there was no screaming, there was no bad comments. Not to say it was perfect, but man, that's a huge improvement. Like, a lot of people are like T-Mac and his wife were like, wow, Christmas must be really stressful for you. And I'm like, no, this is the most relaxing Christmas I've ever had. And also a kind of funny thing, I don't live in the ghetto anymore. I've kind of lived in some ghetto places in my life. I haven't lived there for a while. The place I lived in, Fort Worth, Texas, wasn't exactly the ghetto. But it's kind of dawning on me that I live in a proper neighborhood with real people when your neighbors talk to you and they bring you food and cars don't go stolen and there's no gunshots at night and stuff like that. So it's a good feeling to have. My back is healing well, not perfect. I did hurt my back pretty bad this year, but all things considered, I did about a month of the pain and the healing is going very, very well. I wanted to travel. I was stuck in a small town in Mississippi with very limited money. Lots of places I wanted to go. I wanted to go to E3, I wanted to go to PAX, I wanted to go see all these cities. didn't get an opportunity to. Well, this year, thanks to the YouTube and the gaming, and well, again, you guys, and my wife had a pretty flexible nursing schedule, we were able to travel a lot. I went to Los Angeles like 5 times this year. That's a lot of times to be in LA, and each time was absolutely fun as hell. I went to Seattle on a crazy G Fuel 48-hour bender madness. It was an interesting trip, mind you. I would have liked to see more of Seattle, but Seattle was a cool place from what I saw. I got to go to Boston, like proper Boston, where everybody has the thick New England accent and eat clam chowder and stuff, and go to PAX. I always wanted to go to PAX. I got to go to PAX this year. One of my trips to LA was E3. I spent a week in LA going to E3, rooming with people that I'd never roomed before, old friends, new friends, riding public transit and talking to meth heads about what they stole out of prison, all kind of crazy stuff. I got to go to Houston and Boston, which are totally different cities than Texas. Texas is massive. There was so much travel that this year I actually decided to pass on New York and London just so that I could spend a little bit of time at home with my wife or just relax and cool down because it was so crazy. And I think that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That's not an opportunity that I've ever had before. That's not an opportunity not everybody gets or not everybody will ever get, and I enjoyed it as much as I possibly could. One of the other things that's going on is that with the increase in popularity of the YouTube channel, I get recognized on the street. I mean, it's pretty weird to just go out to Walmart, or not Walmart. We shop at Target here in Plano, Texas, because we have standards. We don't shop at that Walmart. Ha, Target. Well, Target, or, you go get tacos, or you go to IHOP, or you go anywhere, like a little gaming convention, and people recognize me. Like, I'm not, like, looking for celebrities. There's people looking for me, and it's the other way around, and that's really cool when people come up. People recognize my dog. I went to 2 different vets this year. One of them watched Noob vs. Pro, and he's like, it's the dog that plays video games. The other one, there's a patient in there, and he's like, your dog is the Doge, and the dog is a meme. And it's really cool. It's a really uplifting thing when people recognize you on the street and have good things to say. Increases the paranoia a little bit, because I do worry, like, if somebody that hates me recognizes me, I might get sucker punched or something, because there's 550,000 people that subscribe to the channel. Probably at least half again as many have heard my name or are aware that I exist to some degree. And when you deal with large numbers of people, there's always going to be a small percentage that hates you, but the small percentage might still be like 1,000 or 2,000 people that hate you. This is a Vandahar problem. You can ask him about that. It's cool, but a little creepy. And everything is on the up and up. We're all doing very good, but I'm still kind of riding a shaky ship. If you haven't noticed, YouTube is very unstable. They've got new copyright rules and laws and algorithms that I have to play with and dance around. CPMs are highly variable. Taxes are going to be brutal. Unfortunately, I'm in the highest tax bracket, not because of the income, but because of the type of payment that I get. There's nothing comes, like a lot of you work a normal job and you get a W-2 and you pay into Social Security and all this stuff by default. Me, I don't get anything, so I have to pay like 30%, or it was like 29 or something like that near the end of the year. Back still hurts a bit, could be better. Funny thing about owning a home is you don't just buy the home when you're done. You actually have to repair your home. Instead of calling your landlord and complaining to him about substandard housing, you have to pony up and fix it yourself, which is kind of a new experience, but it's still good to do that. Got some family health issues. My wife's got a bad back. My dog's just dumb. My dad has a variety of diseases and health problems and stuff. My grandmother's getting dementia pretty bad. That's probably the biggest one that I have to deal with, because we're going to have to put her in a home here pretty soon. She came down to visit me for Christmas, and I more or less felt like I was babysitting constantly. She kept trying to go upstairs and didn't know what her bathroom was. She tried to take my TV remotes home with her because she thought they were her hearing aids. And generally very confused, so I'm going to have to go through the process of putting her in a home soon. And you're going to see this game is going to come down to the absolute wire here at the very end. This is probably the closest domination game that I have played in Call of Duty Ghost, and I'm #1 on the scoreboard. Not a positive KD, but a lot of captures, and most of my deaths are trying to get those objectives, and thank goodness we barely squeaked out a victory here at the end. That's all for the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to favorite and subscribe. Drifter out.